Yeah, hey everybody. This is Ian from mindfulmarketplace.com, and this is our platform 10x program for authors. And this video, we're going to cover how to write a bridge book, or more specifically, the 10 types of bridge books that I find are actually the easiest to write and and the most frictionless to actually get published and ultimately get paid for your passion, your purpose, or your professional expertise. So just as a quick aside, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the idea of a bridge book, this is something that I talk a lot about in our community. It's a book that's written ostensibly to build your brand, right? So it's not a diary. It's not a sort of a data dump of your own experiences or egocentricity. It's very specifically a book that is designed to lead your reader through you know, literally over a bridge and to take an action on the other side. So what I like to say is a bridge book articulates an idea that inspires an experience, and the experience is actually immersing folks in your expertise or in an event, a coaching community, whatever it is that you offer on the in quotes, other side of the book. So that's a completely separate topic. We're not going to talk too much about that here. But if you're really just being introduced to the notion of a bridge book, that's what I mean when I refer to a bridge book throughout this video. All right. So number one, a leader's light the lamp book. And essentially this is a how I did X without doing Y, and so too can you. So essentially you are, kind of recapitulating a journey or an adventure that you took or overcoming a problem. And you're essentially lighting the lamp for everybody else so that folks can follow in your footsteps and do what you've done without necessarily having to endure the uncomfortable experiences that you've experienced on the way to your epiphany or breakthrough or eureka moment. All right. A leader's light the lamp book. Let's see if this will scroll, because if it doesn't, we're in trouble. And it does. All right. So number two is a rules or principles book. And essentially this would be something like, the 11 new rules for writing a book that changes the world, or something like productize 7 timeless principles for turning your passion into perpetual piles of profit. So all these examples are examples that we're using in our own community. These are not published books. They're actual titles that are working titles that we're exploring in some of the books that we have coming out of our Mindful Marketplace platform. All right. So again, rules/principles, pretty easy to understand, and they're pretty popular and pretty easy to write. All right. Not quite, though, as easy to write as number 3, which is a Q&A book, and really one of my favorites to recommend, especially to folks who don't love to write. It's super easy to actually finish one of these. You can do a Q&A book in a weekend, and there are lots of really, really, really good Q&A books that have changed my life, that have, again, changed many lives of many millions of readers, even if they don't necessarily identify those books as Q&A books. So one example we were just talking about earlier today on a call is something like The Power of Now, an Eckhart Tolle book, which is super popular and has sold many millions of copies. That's essentially a Q&A book, right? Q&A books are also very popular in the mindfulness space, and that's obviously a market that we're competing in, but there's a lot of, very sort of timeless or evergreen books in the kind of Buddhist or meditation space that were really, taken from expositions or, kind of weekend retreats where a guru or the leader or the teacher was essentially just extemporaneously just talking on a given subject and answering questions from his or her acolytes or students or the folks who were there, and they've turned those books into some really, really popular books in that genre, right? So I just read something as a quick aside. Not that many people watching this video are going to be interested in this, but it's called I Am That, and it was written by a guy whose name I'm not going to pronounce, whose Indian name I'm not going to pronounce properly, so I'll skip it for this video. But it's a beautifully written book, and essentially it's a pure Q&A book, and I found it to be exceptionally helpful in my own understanding of the meditation technique that he teaches. Right. So here is an example: 21 not so stupid questions about getting purpose, getting published, and getting paid. This is something that I'm working on myself, right? And it's a pure Q&A book where I'm just taking reader questions and answering them, or our member questions and answering them. And I think it's one of the not only easiest things that I've started to write, but it's also, I think, going to be one of the most helpful books that I'm working on, because I think it does answer very real, very tangible, and very true member questions. All right, a community curated book. This is something that is relevant to those of you who are building platforms or building larger brands or communities. And essentially, you're just getting short contributions from many folks within the community, right? So one of the things that we're also working on, that I'm not personally working on, but someone else on our side is working on, is a mindfulness is ... book, where we have all these different contributions from different teachers and leaders in the mindfulness or meditation space, sharing what they think mindfulness means to them, right? So what mindfulness is to each person is going to vary a bit, and that's going to hopefully provide a opportunity not only for these individuals to contribute something to a published book, but it's also going to give the readers an opportunity to see various perspectives, various thoughts, ideas, and approaches to to a very conventional practice. All right. So 50 short stories on waking up, slowing down, and rediscovering magic, meaning, and mojo in everyday life. Something like that was a working title a while back when I first conceptualized this idea. That may change. All right. Number 5, really simple, a tips book. And again, this is something silly, but you got to be kidding. 15 meditation tips for skeptics, cynics, and the curious but not convinced. Obviously this works in, ketogenic diets, anxiety disorders, weight loss, muscle, fitness, and whatever the niche is. Certainly there's a place for a tips book. All right. Number 6, a how-to book. I actually don't love how-to books for the bridge book ethos and approach. And I'll explain why in another video. But for those of you who are looking to write a how-to book, obviously it's pretty self-explanatory. How to write a short book that changes the world would be an example of that. All right, so a compilation book, and this is similar to the curation book we covered above, the community curation book. But in this case, you would just curate your own best content. So if you're a blogger already, or you have lots of articles or a journal or something that's published online, just take your best content or your favorite content or the content that's been most well received by your audience, and you put it all into a single publication, and you publish it, right? You self-publish that, and it's very, very easy to do and launch in a weekend. All right, 12 essays on middle age or whatever it may be. All right, so here is number 8, 9, 10 are some ideas that I think are not only super easy to create or to write, but these are some of the things that we're helping our authors write themselves. So we have a book publishing platform where we're actually helping our authors write their books. And these, the 8, 9, and 10, are the 3 types of books, in addition to the Q&A book, that I'm really focused on as we beta test this publishing offer to our authors. The reason is they are in my view, amongst the easiest kinds of books to write, but they also conform to the bridge book, approach in the most, in the most easily aligned way, let's say, right? So the new way / the old way is just contrasting an old way of solving a problem with a new way, right? And I've literally written some of these where I've just gone through and said, old way, you do X, Y, or Z, new way, and then you just stipulate what the new way is and how that is going to be better than the old way, which didn't work. And the other thing that's really fun about these sorts of books is they can be really entertaining, right? So you can be funny and you can sort of describe the old way in some very comical or entertaining ways, and people, I have found, really resonate with that. So I've done some of this testing on Facebook. You can look at our Facebook page. It's facebook.com, The Mindful Market, and you can see that some of the old way / new way contrasts are really, really popular, and people really tend to enjoy them, share them, and it's just really easy to do, right? So by articulating an old way that you wasted time on, you're also establishing empathy with your audience, because most likely they are still wasting time on those same things. And then you suggest a better way that actually has really worked well for you. It's a great way of building that bridge, especially if you are teaching something or building a community or offering courses or events and things like that, which fundamentally is what the bridge book is about. All right, an objections book. I really like this as well. And you essentially just list common objections to making progress on a particular path or process and then overcome them, right? So, I don't have time to eat a ketogenic diet. I don't have 20 minutes a day to meditate. Whatever it is, you just list popular or conventional common objections that people have to the actual thing that you are selling, or the thing that you really want them to do, right? Your solution for a problem. And, you just list the objections that are in their head and you solve them, right? This is something that you'll see oftentimes in, sales letters or ads or infomercials or whatever. And, human psychology being what it is, this actually works wonderfully well for short books, especially bridge books that guide a reader to take a single specific action when they finish reading, which is really what we are aspiring to teach here. All right, and last, this is something that I've been doing for years. Those of you who followed my work for any length of time will know that I've been teaching this approach for a long time, and I call it the Launch It with Less book. And essentially it has an introduction, a core concept, a single exercise or technique, common challenges, Q&A, small ask, and a big ask, and you're done, right? So you're introducing a single idea, you're communicating what the core concept behind that idea is, you're then giving them a specific exercise or technique. You are, like the objections above, you are sharing common challenges that folks have to actually applying the advice or applying the technique. You're doing some Q&A, like articulating what folks ask. And then you have the small ask and the big ask. And the small ask is just asking for micro commitments from your audience to do small things to get, big returns, let's say, on the core idea. And the big ask is what you want them actually to do at the end of the book: attend a webinar, call you, show up to an event, whatever it may be. That's your big ask. All right. And number 11 is just an invitation to join us. This is our 2020 flagship program, 10x your audience, 10x your impact, 10x your income in 2020. We have a whole slew of very unique, I dare say, revolutionary offers for inspirational authors, folks who are, purpose-driven, professionals of one kind or another. You have an inspirational message that you want to share with the world, and you're just struggling to articulate it or get it out or get it published, right? So if that is you, feel free to join us at any of these links. You can hook up with us on Facebook, The Mindful Market. Here's a link to our an application for our Platform 10X 2020 program. And here's our partners program, which will show you some of the other various ways that you can get involved with our platform. All right. And if you want to download this list of ideas, the PDF will be available in a link in your community resource section below. I'll also post this video on YouTube, so feel free to click on the link below the video and you can grab it there. Okie doke. I appreciate you watching. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thanks.